Hello and welcome to The Way It Is. I'm your host, Barnard Sims. We thank you so much for tuning in with us this evening in the UK, but it's the afternoon in the United States. But I lean toward that because our guest is from Great Britain, and she's going to come on and tell us some things about you know her work and the things she does. But on this intro, I just wanted to acknowledge that this is Black History Month in the United States. I know that Black History Month is celebrated in October in Great Britain. But again, I'm gonna lead to the expert when during our interview to let her correct me on some of the things me and my nephew argue about London. But Great Britain, well, she's from Manchester. But anyway, this is Black History Month. We're coming off a Super Bowl weekend, and I would like to. I'm gonna ask my guests some questions about how important the Super Bowl is there because the this was the most viewed Super Bowl halftime show in history. And there was a lot of debate over in the states about was it the greatest halftime show ever. And I'm gonna put my 2 cents in. I'm gonna have to lean towards the person on my shirt. Ursha was great, but I think he put his hands on Alicia's keys a little too much for my taste. But but that's between him and Swiss Beat. But anyway, I did enjoy the show. It was good to see Atlanta and the state where I'm from represented with him, Lil Jon, and Ludacris all on the stage representing the ATL, as we call it, Shawty. That's what we say here. That's how we talk. We don't enunciate well in the South, so we say crazy things like that. But it was good to see that aspect of the hometown represented on such a global platform like Super Bowl. Uh, in addition to that, the guy who caught the game-winning touchdown was a local hometown person, McCole Hardeman Jr. I was on a panel with his father last year, and it was good to see, somebody from this space on that stage being successful. So hopefully we can get him in the future to come on this show, this podcast. And well, in the meantime, while we're waiting on him, we waiting on Cat Williams and Monique, but we have no better guests than we have those guests though, compared to the guests we have today. This is a young lady that her name is Tarnya Coley, the director of TC Publishing. She's a renowned award-winning publisher dedicated to empowering authors globally. As the author of 5 books, her bestseller, Planet, See It, Anticipate, comes highly recommended by Les Brown. She was awarded the 2021 SIMA Global Award for Most Influential Woman. Uh, I'm just glad to have her on this today, and I've been keeping her waiting a little too long. We had some technical difficulties. I'm learning this new platform, so I apologize for having you waiting, and I thank you so much for coming on with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Oh, super excited. How big is the Super Bowl in the UK? Or
Not
is
big.
it? Not at all. Good, good. that's what I wanted. I wanted to have a global perspective because we're global people, but it's just a big deal here, but it's not that big a deal in the UK.
No, it's not.
Okay, now before I even get into the interview part, I have to ask you this because my godson nephew, he's been abroad in Europe twice, and he comes back, and because I'm from the country, I ain't never been nowhere. He wanted to tell me, correct me when I say something. But uh, the difference, we had a conversation on the difference between Great Britain and the UK, and I was trying to say the only difference is the Netherlands is the united part of the United Kingdom. Or you tell me, you straighten out our argument for it.
I am in the UK, the United Kingdom, and I am in Manchester.
Right.
That's where I am.
Right, I understand that, but is it? We was talking about the difference between Great Britain and the UK. What is the difference between those terms that we casually throw around over here in the States?
It's interchangeable, really. There's not much been much difference. So You continue having those arguments with each other. Bernard, you're going to have to come over to the UK.
Yeah,
Okay, you need to come over.
yeah, yeah. Yes, I do. I do. And uh well, I'd like to start from the beginning, your origins, because you have an interesting quote on I Believe I Can, the UK. It says, I don't know where you got the quote from, but it says, we rise by lifting others. And so I wanted to go back to your origins. What growing up, what inspired you to have this concept of we rise by helping others?
Yes, it is a great concept. And my story is my mom was 16 and pregnant with me in the 1970s. And I know, Bernard, you're looking at me thinking, you was born in the 70s. Yes, I was.
Yeah, me too.
And she was told to leave home, and her boyfriend was nowhere on the scene. And she rose above her circumstances. She was the first person in her family to graduate university and become a social worker. So this is why we can rise. And while she was rising, she was also supporting others despite her young age. And this is why I'm so passionate about, as we're rising, we're also helping others as we move forward as well.
Mhm. Now, what was it like growing up as a little girl in Manchester?
Well, to confuse things a little bit more,
Okay,
I'm originally from England, Birmingham, which
Birmingham.
in England,
Okay,
and that is about 2 hours away from Manchester. So I grew up as I had a great childhood. It was me and my mom, and I was also raised with my nan, which is my mom's mom, and the three of us. And it was a fantastic childhood. Went to school in Birmingham, in England, and also went to college. But then when I got to my teens, I decided that I'm going to move away to university and study as a teacher. And I was brought up people always saying to me that you're not going to amount to much. You're going to be like your mom, etc., etc. But I had this determination that I'm going to be something and do something with my life. So I decided I was going to take a one-way coach ticket to Manchester, and also that was it, a one suitcase. I studied for 4 years and became a teacher, and I had that career for 15 years. And that was me.
need a water break. Need a water break. Okay. I was I was listening to you, and I was listening. You said England, but it's we call it, and this is where we don't enunciate over here in the States, in the South. You know, you say Birmingham. We got a town in Alabama called Birmingham, but I think it's derived from the same place where you were just referring to. We just enunciated different. You did say Birmingham, right?
I did.
Can you
Yes,
say it again now? Help me with my accent.
Birmingham.
Birmingham. We don't enunciate over here. Yeah. When I had my press release done for the UK, there's a lot of little subtle differences in languages, and the person who was doing my press release had to remind me, you know, you are speaking a language that is from here. It's amazing this arrogance that I'm just being transparent. Sometimes this arrogance that Americans have. I know I was doing like the snow cones at my child's field day, and it's this, you know, Billy Bob guy with overalls standing there, and this kid came up and was talking in Spanish, and I said something to him in the little Spanish I know, and Billy Bob, hey, I feel like if they're over here, they need to be speaking American. They don't need to be speaking a foreign language over here. And I'm like, sir, America doesn't have a language. We're speaking English. which is a form. So these are the things I hate that. I know my interviews are not about me, but I just had to share with you some of the place of where we come from in this. So I'm conceded the way you pronounce it is the proper way, but we don't pronounce proper in the South. I'm sorry. We working on it. Now before still want to go back to, you say you was a teacher for 15 years?
Yes, I absolutely loved teaching. I taught teenagers. Here we have a different educational system. So high school age, which was from about 14 to 18, I taught for 7 years. Then I went to teach adults, and then the last, and I taught at also university as well. So I was teaching health and social care, getting students into the healthcare profession.
Oh, really? Really? Okay. Okay. Now, and you did that 15. Actually, you're still teaching because you have these events to help prepare people to become first time authors, like the author breakfast. I was gonna swim over there to come to that, like
We were
aqua.
waiting for you. What happened?
The water got a little too deep for a brother halfway, and I had to come back. But did you just have an author's breakfast, or you have one coming up soon?
Yes, we had one on Saturday. It was brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic. We had lots of first time authors in the room, and some of my authors that we've published their books, and they were in the room inspiring people to take action, because a lot of the times we can say, I want to write a book, and that's where it stops. But
Mm.
we were empowering people to take action, because action changes things. So it was a great day of motivation. We had a full English breakfast, and then motivating, inspiring authors to take action to write their book. So I'm all about taking action and giving them the steps and the tips and strategies on what they need to do to get writing their book, get their writing out of their head and onto paper.
Oh, that's good. I know one of the other references I read that you talked about getting over the hump of paralysis, of over analysis, or something. I don't mean to misquote you, but you could expand on that. You just did a little bit, but
Yes, because I don't know if you find this, Bernard, when you're talking to people and they want to write this book. I don't know if it's because we're authors and they want to talk about writing books. And we're saying, okay, great. But then you talk to them months later and they still haven't done it. And fear, I believe, this is my opinion, can stop you from moving forward. And then it's the mindset that tells you you're not good at English. You failed at English. Who's going to read your story? You haven't got anything good to say. And that mindset. And I always say to people, tell the committee in your mind to shut up and sit down. Because your mind is always going to say things to you, but we're not going to be driven by that, because we want to do it, and let's do it. Because if you're waiting for the perfect time, or your, ducks all lined up in a row, it's never going to happen. One of my authors shared with me, because life will be lifing. Life goes on. So we have to do the things that we want to do, because time is short.
It is. It is. And I call that voice that you talk about my inner colonizer. It's like we sometimes here in the States, especially in the South, we sometimes program ourselves to subordinate ourselves to second class citizenship. Well, it's not my time, it's not, but it's your book.
Yeah,
So mm, who else can write our own stories that are in us better than ourselves?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So, and at the author breakfast, you I see something about an author 90-day lab, or something where you help people get their stories out of their minds and on the papers. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Bernard, I am an action taker. If you tell me something that you want to do something, I'm going to be on you. So many people, they want to write their book. You may be listening now thinking, well, that's me. I want to write a book, but I'm not sure where to start. How do I start? How do I start that first line? How do I get my thoughts out of my head and onto paper? And in this 90-day authors lab that I have, which is my coaching program, and I help people in groups, and I do one-to-one internationally. I work internationally because we meet on Zoom, and I help people with the accountability, because I don't know about you, Bernard, a lot of people, they're not accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they can't get things done. And it's helping them to stay on track. And then we also talk about a book plan, getting your thoughts out of your head and onto paper. What is it that you want to write? Why do you want to write it? Who is it for? What's your message? And we unpack those things. And then we talk about, what do you want to include in your book? Because sometimes it's not everything that you want to share, depending on what you want to share, talk about. And if you're a coach, getting your expert knowledge out of your head and onto paper. My coaching book is called Plan It, See It, Anticipate It. And those are the things that we talk about with each other. And then we start to give you some tips and strategies on what you need to be doing each day to get your book done. And most of my clients that I work with, they get it done in 90 days, because I give them the strategy on how to get their thoughts out of their head and onto paper.
Wow. Wow. And I got an email. I got to make sure this is legitimate. Now I got an email that says you're offering our listeners a treat, a 15-minute free consultation. Is that accurate? Now I don't want to put it out there. And then you said no.
That is absolutely accurate. For those that are listening and thinking, she's talking about me. Well, jump on, click on, there's a link there, book your free 15-minute consultation. And I'd love to have a chat with you, because sometimes it's years that people have wanted to write their book. But 2024 is the year. It's go time, Bernard. So let's do it. Get in touch with me and let's have that conversation.
All right, then you heard it. You heard it here from her mouth now. Because anytime you say free, sometimes a whole bunch of people show up. But they tell them how much you charge. I've been a barber for years, so you start out, you say free, it's a line out the door. But then you start charging what you're supposed to charge. Ah, man. So, but this is so important, because I always go to the African proverb, the story of the hunt only favors the hunter until the lion shares the truth. And each one of us has a story within us to share that's important, that will help somebody else in their journey. Like you're helping, hundreds, maybe thousands of people, to help to organize their thoughts and put them on paper.
Yes.
So really appreciate the hard work that you put into that. Uh,
Thank you.
do you have copies of your book on hand to show of that book on hand to show people?
Yeah. So I'll take you on a journey with my books. So when I was talking about, I was a teacher for 15 years. In 2018, I made a decision, because when I was working, I was overworked, overwhelmed, and underpaid. So I made a decision. I either stay in the job that I'm in and just put up and shut up, or do something about it. So I decided I'm going to write my book, and I'm also handing in my notice as well. And I left my job in 2018. So I wrote this book, Open Doors. It's about my journey. Like I shared at the beginning, my mum had me 16 and pregnant in the 70s, which is a massive taboo in the 70s, being pregnant and not being married. And I talk about those experiences and what it was like. And that was my beginning. But I encourage people that your beginning doesn't have to be your end. And believe it or not, Bernard, 6 weeks later, this book was written. I wrote the first draft of this book in 6 weeks. I got it out of my head, and I got it onto paper. And I know you're going to ask now, how? You're probably thinking, listening, how did she do that? I'm going to give you some tips. Sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice and do some things differently. So I got up earlier than I usually would. Then I'd go to work, do what I've got to do. I had 2 young children at the time. I'm married with 2 children. And then I'd come home, get everything sorted. I'm an early bird. I like to go to bed early. But when I was writing my book, I'd stay up a little bit later and do my writing. When I was doing the school runs, picking up the children, sitting in the car waiting for them, I'd speak into my phone, and that would be my dictation. So I found ways of writing my book. And then 6 weeks later, it was done because it was my priority to get it done. So that's the first book.
Okay. And you wrote that one while you were still teaching?
Yes. So while I was busy, while we say we have no time, while we say we've got young children, we have responsibilities, all of that, I still did it in that time.
Could you hold that up again? That's a beautiful cover. Open doors. I have to
Yes.
ask you to deviate again from the book to open doors to thinking about teaching in the UK. I know in the States, teachers are very much underpaid. I think uh, teachers have to say like a teacher with say a master's degree, somebody in another field with the same degree earns 24% more than our teachers do in our system, and that's just I mean that just I don't know if it's a problem in the States, or is that a problem with teachers being underpaid in the UK as well?
Exact same problem. We work so hard in educating the generation, the younger generation, the older generation. We do so much work more than teaching. I was talking to my husband the other day. When I was in teaching, it became you're a counselor. You're
Mm,
so many different, you do admin.
right.
You have to stay after work and do certain things. You've got to input this data. You've got to go to board meetings. You've got to mark dissertations. All these things added pressure. And within a certain time frame, I was working weekends for 15 years.
Wow.
I'd go and visit my mom in Birmingham, who lives 2 hours away from me. I've got a bag full of assignments that I need to mark and get them ready for Monday. So I had to carry them with me. And that was my life for 15 years. But I'd done something about it.
Right, right. I mean, to get on the teachers thing again, that this is bizarre that we underpay teachers when they train everybody in every other field. You don't have people in these other fields without some critical teacher at some juncture of some human being's life. Then why would we underpay those people
Mm,
that are so vital to our future? Just
exactly. Very
don't.
bizarre.
Okay. All right. Let me get off my soapbox for a minute. But that always bothers me. And I'm not a teacher. No, with anybody else. I'm a chess coach, but I don't think anybody want me being a teacher. But so I really appreciate you and the rest of the teachers that sacrifice so much to
Thank
prepare
you.
our next generation.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get back to you have other books you want to. Yeah, I know you
So,
got 5.
so the next one, during the lockdown, a thought came to me. A lot of people were saying negative things, whether it's on social media, where if I've called somebody. And what oftentimes happens, we can focus on what's going on around us, focus on the challenges, but it's not going to change if we're focusing on that.
Mhm.
So you've got to fix your focus and fix what you're thinking about and having that attitude of gratitude. So
Mm.
I decided to write my 365 motivational book. And my brother-in-law, he did the tree for me. He's an artist. And I decided I'm going to write one small verse each day. Bernard, pick a number between 1 and 365.
221.
221, just to give you an example. So 221 says, promise. Promise yourself that you will action what you set out to do. That was perfect.
What you action, promise yourself that you will action what you set out to do. That's
Yes. So that's my 365 that I wrote throughout the pandemic to help people to motivate themselves and take action.
mm, that's big. That's just random, man. You come up with that 221 action what you set out to do.
And when I had a vision of doing 365 because I wanted one for every day as we're in the pandemic, and then you can just rinse and repeat. But then I got to something like, I don't know, then like 150, and I couldn't think of any more things to write. So I said to my husband, maybe I just should just do a 150 book. And he was laughing. He said, no, the vision was 365, do the 365. So I did it. And then alongside that, I wrote this planner, The Simple Way to Get Motivated Goal Planner. Plan it, see, anticipate it. And this planner was to help you to plan whilst you're in the pandemic, what things that you want to do. Now you've got the time. What do you want to do? What projects do you want to work on? What book do you want to write? What goals have you set yourself? And just keeping your mind and yourself occupied throughout this time, difficult, challenging time. And this is why I came up with this. And inside it, it's got your to-do list, your weekly goals, a project list, your weekly planner, writing your wins, things to improve on, what are your tasks, because it helps you to get focused and setting those priorities and getting things done.
Right. Now that's
like, any more? I've got two more.
I think you wrote 5, right? If my research.
I've got 2 more here.
Okay. Now that was the one, the Planet See It. That's the one I referenced is recommended by Les Brown, right? No,
yes.
That's the one. Okay.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, I decided I'm going to utilize my time effectively. So Les Brown, who's the #1 motivational speaker in the world, he was putting on a coaching program. And I decided, I'm going to jump on that. And I did. And he helped us to train our voice to make a greater impact. So we did his coaching program. And Barnard, I'm not joking, this is what he calls discipline and focus. Obviously, the different time zone, but it was midnight for about 3-4 months. Okay. So I was up at midnight, sometimes 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning on this coaching call, because this was something that I really wanted to do. And I sacrificed my sleep for this. And then he put out a call. He said, who wants to share their story on his Facebook page? Because he's going to do a summit called The Power Voice. At first I thought, should I? And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to jump on it and do it. And he gave us a series of tasks that we had to do before he would say yes. So we had to record ourselves sharing our 15-minute story. And he gave us a template on how to do it. And you wasn't allowed to say, when you're talking to him. Because if you do, he said, I'm going to charge you on my Cash app.
Oh, no.
So I was selected out of 250 people. So there was 20 of us. And he put on this summit. And we was able to share our story on his Facebook page, which was fantastic. And then he came to my coaching group for an hour. And he shared on Zoom about, you got to be hungry. So that was great. And then he endorsed this book. He wrote, Tarnya has done it again. She has taken the art of goal setting and achievement to another level. She's given us the necessary steps for achievement and success that anyone can follow and apply. If you're tired of sitting on the sidelines of life, this book is a must read for you to finally get hungry and go after your goals and dreams. So that's what he wrote at the back of my book.
Wow.
And it's all about setting goals and taking action.
Right.
The last book, I have actually written a 6th book, Barnard, but I haven't released that yet. Well, this is the one I published last year, Arise and Shine Author's Devotion. All these books have been published through my publishing company. And it's a 30-day devotional to help authors through the ups and downs of their journey. Because sometimes you're like, yes, I'm going to write. Sometimes you don't you're not motivated. Sometimes you think, should I write it? And you have all these emotions. So what I've done is 30 days of positive thoughts, things like healthy habits, beat procrastination. And we have thoughts for the day and discipline and direction. And that's what we have in 30 affirmations as well for authors.
That's good. That's a necessary concept, because of a thing I've always heard is the person who think they can and the person who think they can't are both right. And so the affirmation is the best way to kind of cure or combat that disease of self-doubt that I'm sure we all struggle with at times. Yes. But I thought you got more books than that, though. I thought you had
that was 3.
That was 3.
4, 5. That's 5 there. That's all of them.
That's all of them. Okay, okay. Now I've only written one. so, so so I gotta take your advice on action. What you set out to, what 221, what you set out to do. Do what you set out to do, or something. You said it better than I can. But on page 221, but I'm taking that to heart because that's a theme that I think, yeah, you turn it to it. So I say that's a theme that we all can learn
Yes,
from.
so 221 says promise. Promise yourself that you will action what you set out to do. Les Brown always said, make a commitment to your commitments.
Make a commitment to your commitment. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I know football's not big in the UK, but it's funny that that was the phrase that you came to, because sort of like what I was concluding to is the guy who's from here who caught the game-winning Super Bowl catch. He had uh he had been cut by the team and traded to the Jets, which is the New York Jets, and they have a video of him uh sort of like explaining what he visualized for the Jets, the team he's on. And he said, I visualize us being in the Super Bowl and winning it, and against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, what he didn't say, it happened the way it happened, but he was traded to another team and he ended up in the Super Bowl with the other team actually doing what he had prophesied in New York. He did the same thing. He did that in Kansas City. So that's what I'm saying. There's something about using words to manifest a reality that we want to see ourselves in. And you're doing that as inspiring authors to be accountable and to take the actions. Promise yourself to take the actions to do what you set out to do.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And it
yes.
is all about action, because a year from now, this is what Karen Lamb said, a year from now, you wish you had started today.
Right, right. Right. And I talk about this inner voice, this inner person that tells you can't do it. And it's so loud because there's so many voices out here that'll tell you can't do it. You writing a book. That's why I didn't even tell anybody I was writing a book until I finished, because nobody, people get tired of hearing me talk in my home. So nobody will want to read your book. but then the opposite of that is true, because we have to drown out those voices and listen to that inner voice that says that we can do great things if we
Yes.
affirm them and we feed those things.
And there's life and death in the power of your tongue. So you've got to speak life to yourself, which is so important.
It is. It is. You still teaching. I know you say you retired from teaching. Did you retire? But you never retired from teaching.
I'm still teaching people how to do their book, I suppose.
Right. 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 Uh, let's see. There's something else. You're a publishing company. I don't know if you touched on it, but I would like to you tell me, how did you get started? Because that's a legacy when you're a publisher. How did you get started, or what gave you the vision to start going into that?
So in 2018, I shared that I handed in my resignation. And in the summer of 2018, I left and then started my company. In wanting to really help people, I started off as a coach, helping professional women to get unstuck and live their purpose. And then I wrote my first book, and then I wrote several books after that, published them. And I thought, I can help other people do this. And people were asking me, can you help me do my book? And I thought at first I didn't have the confidence to do it, that inner voice. But I thought, I can do this.
Mhm.
And I did some training around publishing, built myself a team. And that's where we went from there. I have a team of editors, formatters, cover designers. TC Publishing was birthed, and we started to help people to write their nonfiction books and to get it out of their heads, get it onto paper. Let's do it. And I always talk about that your book will open doors for you. So
Mhm.
what else do you want to do with your book? Because I'm a firm believer, I don't think you should just write your book. If that's for you, that's for you. But I think there's more to writing your book. Because I know you've done your audio book, which is great because when people pass away, this is me personally. When my nan passed away, I couldn't remember what she sounded like.
Mm.
And then my uncle sent me a video, like not a video, a recording of me and my nan singing when we were younger. And I was like, wow. But what you've done, Bernard, you've done an audio book. So people can hear your voice when you've gone on and your words will outlive you. So I think it's just a great way to get your book done. And there's other things that you can do with your book. You can repurpose that content. You can do podcasts. You can do workshops, in-person events. There's so many other things that you can do when you've done your book.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. It's a legacy to leave for people when our voices are no longer, present here.
Mm,
But something you talk about your team of book of editors, because there was so many questions I had when I wanted to become an author, and I didn't know you then. So, I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. And I
okay.
often get people who come up to me with these ideas, and you don't know what you don't know until you kind of need to know it when you
Yes.
write the book. So it benefits to go. So you're like a publishing house where it's all encompassing, where you have somebody to answer questions on cover design, editing, formatting, beta readers, and all that thing, all those type of things.
Yeah. So the team, so people come. If you haven't written your book, like I said, I've got this coaching program. We help you to write your book, your first draft of your book in 90 days. Then I'm very big on self-editing before it goes to our professional editors. And I give people some tips on how to self-edit your manuscript. And that's where I put my teacher hat on. Because I don't think you should just submit something. When you're so glad you've written the last line and then you just hand it in. But that's when you get bad marks. So I give you some tips because this is a self-reflection on yourself. So how you've written it, you don't worry about the grammar, punctuation, and spelling because the editor is going to help you with that. But sometimes, if you're like me, Bernard, sometimes I can't remember, think of how to end the sentence. So I'll highlight it in red and then I'll move on to something else. But if I haven't self-edited the manuscript, I would have forgotten those half-finished sentences.
Mhm.
Or sometimes I'll read the scenario and think, actually, that really doesn't fit there. Oh, actually, should I put that somewhere else? So these are the things that I talk about with my clients before it goes to my team. And then when it goes to my team, my editor will email me and say, what a clean manuscript. This is amazing. And that's because we've self-edited first. And then she will look at, or he will look at the developmental side. Is there clarity in their writing? Is the message clear? Should that piece go there instead? And things like that. And then we have the formatting, the cover designer. My cover designers are amazing. You give them the concept and they will come up with 3 different cover concepts. And then you can decide which ones you like. And then we will have a conversation about getting it out there. Because some people, what they do, they go, buy my book, buy my book. I was like that in the beginning because I had no clue. But now that I've learned, there are other ways that you can do it because it's, who are you? Who's Tarnya? So it's introducing yourself, who I am, what I do. What is the book about? Who is the book for? What is the message? And what's benefit you? What's in it for the reader? So those things are really important. So my team, we love to work on the books because it's so many different aspects and messages. And we just get to work to help people hold their dream in their hands.
Mm. I like that. Help people hold their dreams in their hands. There's so many things that you just said there that brought back memories of going through the process and uh, writing it and self editing and then going back and putting it into the hands of an editor that lived way in a cubicle in Arizona, way away from me, and there were cultural differences. Like I heard Denzel talking about like black people, how we used to, the little girls used to have their hair pressed on Sunday. And if you talk about that, uh, in our culture, we understand what that smell is like. But this guy in the cubicle in Arizona, like, what are you talking about? I don't, people, so that it benefited me to be able to communicate across racial lines, to have a different perspective, hearing my voice. And I was wanted you to have your thought on that. I saw you had a thought on that.
Absolutely. When we was publishing a client's book, that was the same thing that we came across. She came from Jamaica when she was 9 to England, and she'd never met her mom before until she came to England. I get it, because it happened to my auntie. My mom's got 2 brothers and a sister. The oldest sibling was left in Jamaica, and the siblings were born in England, and they met their sister when she was 9. When the editor was reading it, I don't get this. How can you not know who your mom is? How come you didn't meet her till you were 9? What do you mean you send a barrel of clothes over to Jamaica and money? I don't get. So it was really great to get into that nitty-gritty of that part of the story, because people from other cultures are going to read it, and you're going to have to explain it. But we just write as a matter of fact because it's our life. But someone from the outside looking in will go, well, can you explore that a little bit more? Can you talk about that? What did that feel like? How was that? So that is a real great thing, to really get other people's perspective, so you can really have those emotions in the book.
Right. And also it taught, empathy, because I'm like, this brother doesn't understand this right here. So it gave me a chance to elaborate on it. And then it gave the back and forth, kind of gave us a chance to learn from each other. And so if you're just putting a book out there that nobody understands, but people who are from the rural South, then I mean, if that's just the audience, it helps to connect with other people around the globe.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Right. And so, um, any new events you had, when is your next author's breakfast? Because I see you have them from time to time, right? This is an ongoing thing.
Are you swimming over for this one?
You just getting over this one.
I'm just getting over it. But the last one, the one we're going to have, is in October the 5th. And if you want to fly in, fly in. And it's an author's breakfast conference. It's in a bigger space. We're looking at 100 plus people, and it's for aspiring authors. Get that motivation, inspiration, get your marching orders, get that book done. We've got the panel speakers, we've got the main speakers, but I haven't advertised it yet, so it's hot off the press. Okay. You're hearing it first. So we haven't released anything yet, but behind the scenes, we've been doing a lot of planning since last year. So that's going to be our next author's breakfast.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. And it's again, I think that's incredible that you not only want to write your story, but you want to help encourage others to write their stories. And it goes back to the phrase that I initially found on your page, is we rise by lifting others up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if I can help as many people as I can to write their books, so come and join us in the Authors Lab and get that book written. It's 2024. Can you believe it, Bernard? We're already in February.
Yes. It's like hard to. I can't believe we're out of 2023. So we're already in the Black History Month. I was going to ask you about that. Do you know why Black History Month is in October in the UK?
Because that's when it's supposed to be.
That's when it's supposed to be. I can accept. I can accept.
I find it really bizarre that it's in October and then it's in a different month somewhere else. Why can't they just? And I don't understand. Why can't we have Black History Month all year round?
All right.
Why is it just in a specific time and then it's forgotten afterwards? Why can we not celebrate this all year round?
Right. Now, how I found that out was I'm in the virtual book club UK. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but I met with them and I was in their book club. I'm still in their book club. I'm just a little inactive because I'm doing all these, other things. But I found out because I was on it to be my book to be considered like for their research during Black History Month in October. So that's when I found that out. I think it was
Oh,
last
okay.
October for the virtual book club. So yeah, that's a
Yeah.
yeah, and like you said, there's no need for African American History Month if we just teach the truth. I don't know, in the States all year. We could just teach the accurate truth.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Now, again, I want to go back to you say you're offering a free consultation. Now, I want to make sure that people hear that again, because everybody come up to me talking, and they want a free consultation from me, and I'm not that experienced in book publishing. Now, I can tell you what I did, but you probably don't want to go through some of the things that I did. But hey, we got a professional in a publishing company that's offering a free consultation. So I ask you to share the information on that and how people can get in touch with you.
Yes. Jim Rohn said, if you want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse.
Mm.
So for those that have been speaking to Barnard and want to write their book, if you really want to do it, I'm offering a free 15-minute consultation. Yes, it's free. And you can just click that button, find the time available, and we'll have a conversation. Because I want to give you some tips and some strategies on how you can get your book written in 2024. So you can the links are there. You can go on my website, www.tc-publishing.com, and you'll see book a free 15-minute consultation. Just do it. What can you lose? But having a great conversation with me, and if I'm impressed, this is what I do, Bernard. I give people the thumbs up.
Now that looked like one of those things they had at the Super Bowl. I thought you
I
said
knew you was going to say that.
it looks like it. But any parting thoughts, closing things, contacts? Definitely want to make sure we reiterate your contacts. Because I think I got the website that I went to, but I think you just gave a different one to get in
Oh,
touch.
Bernard, this is a new, fresh website. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm loving it. It's www.tc-publishing.com. It's a brand spanking new website. It has all my authors' books on there. I share my journey on there. I share all the services that I offer. Frequently asked questions are on there. There's so many things to explore on that website. So go and check it out. And at this moment, I'm doing a book coaching program, and I'm doing this all year round to help people to write their books, the first draft of their book, in 90 days. So if that's you, jump on, go onto my website, and you can see my book coaching, and it will tell you all about accountability, structure, routine, author's mindset, and having a like-minded community to help you to write your book in 90 days. So you can check out my website. It's got lots of different services on there, and it's also got my books on there, and you can purchase my books through my website.
All right, all right. Now, website one more time, because I got the wrong one up there. I got the old website.
So it's www.tc-publishing.com.
Okay. Now I get that on my page when I'm sharing the link to this show, so that people can just click on it. I found that the easier you make it for people, the better
Yes.
it is. 'Cause they
You
have to go.
got to make it simple. You got to make it simple.
So social media handles or anything like that, so we can connect with you like that, like I did.
Yes. I would love people. You know, people say connect with me, and when you connect with them, they ghost you.
Yeah, right.
It's not one of those. Please reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Tarnya, Tarnya Coley. Just friend request, say hi in my DMs, and let's have a conversation.
All right, all right. Well, unless there's anything else you want to add, that's
Well, the last thing I'll say is if you really want to write your book, you'll find a way. And that way, we're making it easy for you, like Barnard, we're making it easy.
mhm.
I'm a publisher. I help people to write their books. I have a team behind me to publish your book. Get in touch. If you don't want to do it, you'll find an excuse.
Well, Les Brown is not the only one that endorses what you're saying. I appreciate you teaching and still teaching a person like me. And we got to go back to getting teachers paid more, even whether you're still in the school system or not.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll keep in touch. And maybe I can get a flight to London. But my nephew, he scared me. He said, well, he flew to London. He said the turbulence and it threw him off.
I don't live in London,
I
Bernard. I
know,
live
I
in
know you don't.
Manchester.
But Manchester, I would have to fly over. I know you live in Manchester, but I'm saying
You
that
can get a direct. My client from South Carolina came over last October and she got a direct flight. I can't remember where she came from in America, but she came straight to Manchester, no issues.
no issues.
No
Okay.
issues.
Okay. So I'm gonna have to talk to my nephew and tell him, I won't have any issues if I go to
But
Manchester.
you know what, Bernard? If you really want to go, you're not going to listen to your nephew, are you? You're just going to do it anyway. Don't get scared.
Right.
Don't get scared. Just go and do it. And you'll be so excited that you did. When Pele came over from America, she was just so excited that she actually got on the plane and came to England. She met me for the first time, and we had a blast for 17 days together. It was amazing.
Right, right. If you ever over here, you see this Birmingham, it's probably a lot different than the one that you talked about. You was raised up in. This Birmingham is in Alabama. It's a beautiful city, but it's really one of the birthplaces of like the civil rights movement, Montgomery,
Okay.
Birmingham. So it's just a fascinating place with a lot of history there here. But I'm sure they got the name from the Birmingham where you talked
Of
about.
course, you took it from us.
Yeah, right. We took a lot of things. And the day I took you from Manchester to my small town. So I thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and your beauty. And we appreciate everything that you do. And we're gonna stay in contact.
Yes. Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now that was the lovely Tarnya Coley. Again, I will put her information on my on my page with her contact. She talked about a free consultation to anybody who's trying to get their book published. I think that's a fantastic thing that she's doing. So many people want to do books without doing they think you just writing down thoughts on a piece of paper and put it out there, but there's a process because it's putting ourselves out there and leaving a legacy. So whether we're doing podcasts or whether we're writing books or whether we're doing acting, it's all good to get the information to be prepared for when we do have those moments of we get in those spaces that we're prepared to be successful. So I thank Tarnya for doing that and all she does to help authors become a better version of themselves. And that's my time for the day. I thank you for tuning in. Without no you, there's no us. So we need you to like, share, subscribe, take advantage of the free consultation from Tanya, and get whatever it is your dreams, get them on their way, because the journey of 1,000 miles always starts with the first step. And too many times, the first step we take is to get in our own way. So take the motivation from my sister from across the pond in Manchester. In Manchester, not London. I keep talking about London because my nephew went there. I know she's from Manchester, but my nephew, he always talks about London. But take that advice from my sister from across the pond. Take advantage of a free consultation. And again, thank you again. Like, share, subscribe, and connect with us in the chats. And We'll see you that next time. That's my time. And that is the way it is.